Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in and joining us for another episode in our video and podcast series. Today, we've got myself, Cole, and Robert on the line, and we're going to be chatting.
Who are you, though?
I am Drew.
Okay.
My name is Drew.
For those that aren't watching, you never know.
That's true. I figured they might recognize my voice. You know what's almost made me a little bit self-conscious. And Robert, I know you've been there for this. I've had people say that they hear my voice, like at parking lots, like at trailheads, like as far away as like Tennessee or Canada, wherever. I'm like, man, I thought I heard you, and like had to come over and say hi. And like after like the third time, I was like, do I have a weird voice? Like, like I'm like starting to get self-conscious of like, how is my voice so discernible in a parking lot scenario that people are like, I heard you and needed to come over here. I was like, do I sound like Mo at MTB here, dude? What's up, Mo, if you're listening? Thanks for joining us, everybody. This is our video and podcast series that we are finally creating after a lot of requests from our listeners and viewers. Well, not listeners before, but our YouTube viewers, as well as the own staff bugging me here. So we're finally doing this. Today, we are going to be getting into our top products of the year, things that stood out. Obviously, we did our best to try to recollect and go through the database. There's a lot of stuff. Cole, you said you added up how many bikes you rode this year, right? How many was it?
42.
42 bikes that you rode. Rob, do you have any sort of a tally on what you have ridden?
I started and then I lost track of them, but I reckon I'm probably in the 60s.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff we've ridden this year. So forgive us if there's a couple small things that there might be some evolution through the conversation that sparks a reminder. But yeah, we're going to get into some of the things that do stand out to us, some big, some small. But nevertheless, they were things that stood out in our minds. So Robert, do you want to lead it away here with your list of products?
Yeah. We'll do it one by one, right? We'll take turns because you don't want to hear any of us talking for like half an hour straight. Leading off, and I think the most interesting, the shortest, but the most inspirational ride that I had was on board the Uno Myth this year, the e-bike that we had in our 2025 EMTB shootout. And it was a bike that caused us so much frustration. We got delivered a bike that was never intended to be ridden, and it took so much work to get it to the stage that it would work. And then it only worked for, 2 hours? Not even? How long did I have on it before I passed it over to you? I
pushed it up the hill.
Probably about that.
Probably about that. So yeah, it was a frustrating bike and one that we're still to continue testing, although that might be coming soon. But yeah, for that one ride that I managed to get on that bike, I just felt incredible. I felt superhuman to some extent. It wasn't perfect, but it was incredible. So it was definitely a standout ride that I had. But then just the headache that surrounded that bike has definitely soured it a little bit for us. So we're definitely excited to get it back running.
Yeah. And I guess, for the record, for maybe people who are listening who didn't catch our shootout, a majority of the problems came from trying to get the Avinox drive unit to work, right, and talk to the battery, because we basically transplanted stuff from our Amflow test bike, and then there may or may not have been a shock issue. I'm still skeptical on if the shock was to blame. I know Robert's really hoping it was the shock, but bottom line is, I guess you rode the bike on very different trails than Cole and I rode the bike on, and that's maybe why we had a very different feeling of that thing.
Yeah. When I had the bike working for one ride with the drive unit functioning, the rear shock did have, admittedly, basically no small bump compliance, but I was going so fast that the small bumps my tires weren't touching. I was just airing everything, and it didn't really matter, and it still felt incredible, even with basically zero small bump compliance. So very
So
excited to.
that the reach on that bike, if I recall, was extremely short, way
Damn
shorter.
short in the 460s. Yeah.
Do you think that was a big reason of why you had so much fun on that bike on the trails that you rode it on? Like, do you think maybe if another bike had a 460 something reach, you would have been equally pumped?
Well, it wasn't just a 460 reach, but also I think fairly high stack plus a fairly long rear end. So I was just like parked right in the middle of the bike, had loads of support, and it just worked really good for the trails, which were quite fast, just more like jumpy features or like single hit rocks rather than like sustained rock garden. And yeah, it just all came together that I was absolutely flying on the Avanox system up the hill, and it was my first proper experience on the Avanox as well. So that was
sweet,
entertaining, and then it was just a riot in general, but definitely excited to get more time on it. Cool. What's up on your list?
Yeah, I'll keep on the e-bike trend. I think I'll cover two quick ones: my e-bike of the year, and then SL e-bike of the year.
Okay.
It's don't have to split the categories, but I think it's worth mentioning.
Okay.
If you didn't catch our e-bike shootout that we mentioned earlier, for me it was the Crestline, the S180 with the Bosch system, not the Avanox system that they now have.
What would you pick if you could get either one?
The only reason I would go DJI or Avanox rather is it's a little bit lighter.
Okay.
The power wise, like I really enjoy the Bosch system and the way it feels. The Avanox system, I love having a remote on the bar to hit record on the action cam. Very underrated feature, super handy. And the weight and I guess the down tube profile is a little bit slimmer, but the bike as a whole, very capable deep in the stroke, pretty dang fun across blue trails and mixed trails, jumps well, fits well. It took me a little bit longer to get used to cornering it, but all in all, it just kind of did everything for me. Love the looks.
That mud clearance wouldn't be an issue for you.
Not for where I live.
Okay.
No, I don't have, that was an issue there in Utah, but where I live in the sand that I ride, I really don't think I'd have an issue.
Okay.
Don't know how lucky you are.
And then I'd say SL e-bike of the year, very close tie between the Slam Pivot Shuttle SLAM and the Revel Rerun. The reason the Rerun wins out a little bit over the Slam, a little bit more travel, or a lot of bit more travel rather, without sacrificing fun. So it was super fun, but then when you got deep into the stroke, you could just hit whatever you wanted. And just, I think, kind of a unique bike and unique platform that we don't see a lot.
Okay.
And value also. So
yeah,
leave it at that.
Well, I'm going to go to the polar opposite end of the spectrum from you expensive high roller guys here, and I am going to say Dark Matter Chain Lube is one of the standout products for me this year. I got the product over a year ago. It was an interesting story. So I was back down home where I grew up in Thousand Oaks, California, and made a post and got a DM from some guy who says, "Hey, I see you're back. You know, you're in Thousand Oaks. I live in the Valley. I'm pretty close. I make bike stuff. Could I meet you one day for a ride? I'd really like to show you this chain lube." And I was like, yeah, sure, why not, you know? And, he had some pretty big claims, like, dude, you will not believe this stuff. So he came out, and right there in the parking lot, they stripped, cleaned the grease lube, whatever that was on my chain. He has a cleaning product, really easy and fast to apply in the parking lot. And then he applied this wax lube he uses rubbing alcohol as a carrier, which is nice rather than other liquids. So it dries really fast. So you don't have to let it set overnight or cure or anything else. So within 20 minutes, we had the chain clean, the new lube on. And dude, I pedaled out of that parking lot, and it was a pretty surreal feeling of like, it felt like a belt drive, the pedaling was so smooth. I started shifting gears, and, to be honest, I was blown away. I came home, kind of forgot about it. It got buried in the van somewhere, whatever. I found it again like in the early winter of this year, I guess, or whatever, late winter this year, and started using it again and was like, dude, this stuff is really good. So I gave it to a couple of other people to try out, and they were all equally blown away. Ended up making a review of it finally, like a year later. And dude, I found out like through the guy, he said that a couple hundred people have ordered that lube in the week after we did that review. And we now have like comments on that YouTube video. He has told us that like a high percentage of people who bought the small bottles already bought like his big jug. And there's comments that are like, dude, thank you for this review. I would have never heard of this company, found this product, but this lube absolutely is amazing. So to me, that is a cheap, awesome product. And I fully believe that it is one of the best lubes out on the market. So if you're a chain lube dork, we'll link it, but Dark Matter Chain Lube by MTB product. Not a great name, but great lube.
Moving into two bikes without motors that were at the polar opposite ends of the spectrum for, I guess, mid to long travel bikes. In that, and I had both of them at the same time on test. And they just really highlighted how there's not one right answer to how you design a bike by any means. And like both ends of the extreme end of the spectrum can be super fun in their respective places. So had the Forbidden Dreadnought on test at the same time as the Zinc Vacay, so Cam Zink's company, Vacay. So Forbidden, you've got long chain stays, fairly short reach, high pivot suspension. Zinc, I went for the short reach because I thought it fitted the rest of the bike, but you've got the shortest chainstays I think I've ever seen on a full suspension bike, at least one with a 27.5-inch rear wheel, and a suspension design that's just designed around pop and play. It's called Lift. He's basically saying that this is going to make you able to initiate like a manual easier. And the thing's like a BMX. It's crazy how easy it is to get the front wheel off the ground. I can like 180 it on flat ground pretty much as easy as I can 180 a BMX. It's insane. But then I've taken it to some bike parks where to start with I was like, this is gonna be super scary, and I'm like gonna have to go at the back of every train with my buddies because there's no way I'm gonna be able to keep up with them when they're riding their normal bikes and I'm on this like play bike. But I was still able to just about hang on, didn't die, didn't crash. Pretty stoked on that. So yeah, and then the Forbidden on the other end is ultra stable, ultra like just stuck in the middle of the bike, like loads of weight on the front wheel, kind of hard to do a manual on it full stop. And I had these bikes going back to back. I'd go one of them one ride, one of them the other. And yeah, it just made for a really interesting overall testing scenario. And yeah, had a lot of fun on both of them just because they were so different. I then, to add a third, had the most middle ground bike I think I've ridden in quite a while in the Canyon Spectral. So I had these two kind of extreme ends of the spectrum plus a bike that was slap bang in the middle. And that was like a palate cleanser almost in between them, where I didn't have to think about riding that bike. I had to think about riding the Forbidden and the Zinc. But yeah, I think that was really cool for me to have all those bikes on test at the same time and just really solidify the fact that like every bike has its own strengths and weaknesses and intended purposes that they can really make a difference, but ultimately they're all still super fun because it's awesome.
I think if I could, that's like a great spot to plug another episode that we're going to be talking about why you shouldn't trust product reviews. It's really interesting because, we see comments from time to time about like bike shootouts or group reviews. And, some people, when I say some people, some outlets will say this is the bike of the year, right? And we we've always been hesitant on doing that. And, there could be some people out there that are say, oh, it's because you're scared to upset the sponsor or you don't want to hurt a brand's feelings or whatever, their thoughts are. And I would say that that's absolutely not the case. We prioritize, honesty and trustworthiness in our product reviews. But the reason that we shy away from saying a quote unquote best product, best bike of the year is to exactly what Rob just described, right? To Cam Zink, if he went out, right, and wasn't a pro rider, and we said the Forbidden was the best bike of the year, and he went and bought that bike, he would be like, I can't even manual this thing. I can't do a flat flip, like off of a drop because of the lengthening rear end. So for us, it's really hard to just make these grand general statements because there are so many different types of riders. And that's why I think it's always important when you're looking at reviews or awards, whatever it is, if it's ours or someone else's, to really focus on who the tester is, where they're at, and like what they're judging it against, right? Because it's a Zink Vacay could be the best bike for a certain type of rider, and it could absolutely not be for a very different rider. So thanks, Rob, for sharing that. But it is cool to see that bikes with the same travel and the same wheel size, same price point, same build spec can have drastically different ride characteristics for different types of people.
Totally.
Cool.
I think I'll keep on with the bike talk and get the big items out of the way. Bike that really, really impressed me this year and one that made me want to go ride more was that Top Fuel.
Yeah.
And it was I don't think it was the very base model, but it was like one step up from the base model. I think it was the 8. Gosh, for a 120, 130 aluminum, the brakes were kind of scary, but that bike, for 120 mil out back, smoothed out so much terrain. It was just awe-inspiring with that tiny little monotube shock, way overpressured. Still, it just, if I look back and be like, oh, which bike would I ask back for? It'd be the Top Fuel. And in a short travel category, I think trying to split, like we talked, that is my trail category bike from 120 to 160, let's call it. And then you go into the modularity. You can upstroke it. You can do all these different things. You can mold it. You can get a carbon one. You can spend $3,000 or you can spend $12,000. I think it has a huge variety of riders that it suits. And I think if you've never ridden a true short travel trail bike, you'll start to realize oh, I actually this is a lot more fun than my enduro bike on my local trails, because you're riding maybe greens or blues that you're not always wanting to go on a big travel bike because there's that one punchy climb or one uphill rock garden that you're like, nah, I'm good. Whereas this, it's you can do everything. Yeah, it's not going to handle the big stuff as well, but we have I think it's a 35 by 15 foot step down. Rode that totally fine, hit the big jumps, did the big compression trails, albeit terrifying with I think there were levels on the brakes. No, that's the one thing I want to upgrade. But yeah, just really fun aluminum.
Yeah. Man,
I want to chime in and sorry, go for it, Drew.
Go for it. No, you go ahead.
I was going to say just a reminder that don't do as we do. 35 by 15 foot drop on a Top Fuel is not good. Sometimes it doesn't.
Landing.
Sometimes it doesn't end well. Ask me how I know. Yeah, I think definitely don't ride big free ride hits on a Top Fuel, and in general, just pay attention to what bike you've got and what's appropriate to ride on it.
But if you wanted to, it's not going to hold you back.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a fine line between underbiking
and way underbiking
is underbiking is okay, I get it, but if you're habitually underbiking, then you're just asking for a problem. Yeah. And there's a fine line to walk.
For sure. And that's not where I had the most fun on that bike.
Yes,
right?
Yeah. But it didn't stop you from hitting it, which some bikes in that travel category, you're this isn't the bike for it. So it speaks to the capabilities of the machine.
Very impressed with that build. The tires were amazing. Wheels stayed straight.
Yeah.
The shock started to complain after a few months, but
I think as you were talking about it, I just started kind of going through my head of Trek's having kind of a fire year in terms of their product, right? Like I know there's cycles and brands kind of ebb and flow of where they're at the front of the line and then they're like stuff's a little bit in need of a refresh. I feel like this year Trek has, and even to some extent, some of their models from last year, dude, they've got some amazing bikes right now. I mean, the Fuel Plus LX, which just won our choice for, mid-power e-bike of the year. The Rail was one of your top picks in the full power.
Yep.
We have the Fuel, the analog Fuel, which is a very, very fun and capable bike. So, yeah, I mean, I was like, man, is Trek like the brand of the year right now? But then I thought, okay, well, let's think about all of Specialized's cool bikes. And then I was like, what about Pivot's cool bikes? What about Norco? Like, and then I started realizing, like, holy moly, there are so many brands that have really good bikes and entire bike lines, not just one model. And kind of got me back to our last episode where we were just talking about how tough the bike industry is right now. And I'm like, man, there's a lot of competition. There's not a lot of brands that are just like failing, like in terms of making a bad product, right? Like, there's a lot of good bikes out there.
I guess it's got to be so hard to make, with that such stiff competition, it's got to be hard to make a compelling like argument for somebody to buy your bike right now.
I right now, probably price is going to be a big one. I would say price and spec like is probably as big a deciding factor for a lot of consumers, at least based on my guess and the emails that we get from people asking for advice on a purchase decision. But I don't know. I've been a huge proponent of, I would rather have an SLX bike that rides way better than a full XX Axis bike that does not ride great.
Yeah.
But, everyone's different, I guess.
Rabbit holing.
Yes. So I will move into my next product, and I'm going to keep being the small guy while you guys are the big guys, and then we'll flip by the time we get to the bottom of this list. I'm going to say that Shimano's new brakes, the XT and XTR brakes, man, I really like them. When I first get on them after being on different brakes, primarily SRAMs, like finding the happy spot for where I want my lever because of where the pull is takes just a little bit of like reacclimation, but the power and feel of them, I am really impressed, and I am very happy with them personally. And I know Robert's not going to agree with me on that one, but how many sets have you ridden?
One, properly.
Okay.
So my small sample size has been less than ideal. Just felt like they did re-bleed them while I was there, but it just felt like I had a bad bleed both before and after they did that. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Cool. I'm not saying they're bad.
Okay. I like them a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I love the XTRs and that 5-degree upsweep. So like I started running my levers a lot more down on the bar and trying to just get more weight over the front and force me up. And when you have your levers down like that, it changes the way that they're kind of pulling in. So having that little bit of upsweep feels like you're pulling into your body versus away when they're angled down like that.
Yeah. I like I said, I'm a fan of those brakes. I really like them.
Yep.
And in a year where we've had a lot of problematic brakes that are very time consuming and labor intensive, just being able to get on those things and the power they have, I'm honestly very impressed with how much power they have. So, Robert, you're next.
I'm going to keep it in brakes and go for a set that I've had no problems with, which were the Magura Gustav Pros, their new e-bike brake, or just like massive, chunky, do anything cargo bike. Yeah, downhill brake. They feel really good. I love the lever feel, the balance of how light the action is, but also how much feedback you get. And they've just been absolutely faultless across 2 different sets, across riding in Whistler, across swapping across multiple bikes, which using their like easy detachment, I forget exactly what they call it, but they've got like a system where you can easily detach it from the lever without breaking the hydraulic system, so you don't get air in there. Yeah, they're really, really good. And I'd heard mixed feedback from what I'd seen other testers write about them, so I'm pretty intrigued by that. I've been trying to use the downsides of those reviews to see if I can agree with them when I really look into it. But so far I haven't. I think they're really, really good. Really impressive.
Yeah, I've not tried them.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah. I guess moving in, I'll start. I've got no more bikes for me, so I'll do helmets. I'm gonna keep it together. It's kind of helmet, full face and half shell.
Okay.
I did not ride a ton of different full faces this year, but I really don't think that would have changed my answer, and that being the Rampage RS. That helmet, like, I mean, I first got it when we did our bike park tour, where we spent essentially 2 weeks nonstop riding all day, every day in a variety of conditions. Didn't stink, never felt overly hot, even in humid summer East Coast weather. I had a massive wipeout, still alive, didn't get concussed, to my best knowledge. And bringing it home and going on pedal rides, it's light enough and breathable enough to be okay on a pedal bike, not just e-bike pedals. Very expensive, but I think one thing I've mentioned before is if I'm going to splurge and spend money that I don't have on something, put something on a credit card, it's the smartest thing to do is a helmet. That is one thing doctors can't fix. I've had 3 collarbones fixed, a leg fixed. Great, no issues. You can't really fix your head, and I think that it's hard to swallow $1,000 after tax and shipping, depending on where you live, for a helmet. But if that is the difference of you going home to your family or not, I feel like is an okay justification to go into a little debt to get a new shiny product.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
that helmet is really good. I will echo that.
That is also on my list. So Fox Rampage RS, yeah, first product. It looks like that's on all 3 of our lists. So yeah, I agree. Sick helmet. Gets a lot of compliments just in the chairlift line. People see it and they're like, "Dude, that thing looks sick." So
At least our color.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think people compliment. Well, they compliment mine from the back, but not from the front. But that's just what I'm used to anyway. So.
Yeah.
You got that big booty.
And I'll just Jesus Christ. And to keep on helmets, just to knock it out. Also Fox, the Speed Frame RS, same thing.
Dude.
That the RS technology, or not the RS, whatever their dual layer technology is for that rotational impact. It's smart.
Integra split.
The Integra split, thank you. It makes so much sense when looking at other technologies out there. To me, that from an uneducated scientific mind, I look at that and I'm like, oh yes, that I can see that working. And I love just the fit, feel, finish of it. It's white. I love a white helmet. Yeah. Again, it's expensive, but what's the investment you're willing to put on your brain?
There you go.
This is an mountain bike industry.
It is, yeah. And I rode 10 half shells, give or take.
Yeah, I would definitely
maybe 8 half shells. So
while we're on the topic of helmets, just a very quick tangent. The new Canyon deflector with the RLS system. Do you see that? The extra shells that are attached with adhesive, and then there's ball bearings, and the pieces of shell break off in a crash. What do you think of that? That's a wild little invention.
It is wild.
Makes sense.
It's
straight into the top spot of Virginia Tech ratings.
Yeah, which I am really stoked on that they are doing that. They basically bumped a lot of the 5-star helmets down as they have worked on improving testing protocols and learning about energy. So I'm sure there's a lot of brands that are bummed that their marketing campaigns as a 5-star helmet are no longer valid. But
are they retesting helmets, or are they taking data that was used and reevaluating the data?
That I don't know.
Latter. It's the latter. So that they scored the helmets, and then now the threshold to get a 5-star is a lower score.
Yeah.
Where a lower score is better.
Yeah. So, I'll move on to my next pick, which is the Specialized Genie Shock. A product that it seems like some people say is just marketing and gimmickry, but man, the versatility of that shock is awesome. I love what it can do. I love how it can take one bike and make it feel so different, and also and make such subtle changes. I just got back from doing a really very fun project, and that shock would have already been on my list before this project, but after it just kind of like renewed my stoke on it. And we'll try to link to that video episode. But so we went down and rode with the Specialized Ride Dynamics team. They had a mobile shock tuning shop in this van, which was really cool. And basically what we did was see if an average Joe, not a pro racer, could tell the difference between different shock tunes. And the feature, or the goal of this content, was to see like how much tunability will a Genie shock tune yield, and is it discernible, but also to showcase and highlight how much effort, time, and energy a brand puts into creating a stock shock tune for a bike. Because that tune can really change how a bike feels. And throughout this blind 2-day testing process of riding early prototype shock tunes to where they ended up as like their OE selected tune to like a Loic Bruni level tune, was really awesome. And to see, like, again, without knowing, they wouldn't tell me. They're like, okay, new shocks on, new tunes in, go to see what you think. Yeah. And to be able to like break down certain segments of the trail, like I had like, I think 9 key zones of each on the test track, where I really focused everything from like washboard to big compressions to landing a drop to like light unweighted, like skidding over roots. It was pretty awesome to see where like, wow, this shock ate up those washboards, but it kicked the crap out of me when I got into these roots and I couldn't keep the back end down, right? And vice versa, find something that was like buttery smooth over the roots, but like I felt like my eyeballs were gonna rattle out of my head in the washboards. And like, when you find out how small the tune differences are, and then you see the dyno graph of like where the lines are and how close it is, it was really awesome. I'm a suspension nerd. Like I'm such a dork with that stuff. So like I had a blast, but the Genie shock, awesome.
Without giving too much away, was that tune in hydraulics and air?
Yes, but it was primarily hydraulics.
Cool.
So yeah, they were changing, volume reducer, stack, like shim stack stuff a little bit. But yeah, the air, we pretty much kept the air the same. We set my sag to basically the same millimeter, no matter the tune. So sometimes that would require a couple PSI different, but we set the same sag every time.
And did you get to a Goldilocks tune?
I did.
Interesting.
It was very interesting. You kind of get to a point where you realize, like, could we keep going, right? I think we did 6 different tunes, which doesn't sound like a lot, but also is a lot if you think about how many runs you have to do on each tune and then circle back. And then you start realizing, like, do I go down this route? Do I go down that route? And then you start splitting differences. And then you're like, okay, this does feel good, but should I go back to try this one again? And then you start like chasing your tail of like, man, do we need to try 12 tunes? Yeah. But what was interesting too is that the tune I settled on liking was the same tune that like one of their main guys at the Ride Dynamics team also, that was his preferred tune. So he's like, you're riding the exact tune I have, which coincidentally was the tune that a lot of the Specialized developers wanted to be the tune originally. But then they kind of, after passing it around to more people in a broader user group, decided to like kind of like tone it down to a little bit more of a friendly user group tune, I guess you could call it. So just kind of softened up a couple things and took a little bit of the edge off. But yeah, it was really neat to see. And what was interesting is, again, doing it all blind, where I ended up with Genie bands and tuning was exactly what I did on my Levo with the Genie bands and shock. So like in terms of like being over what they send the bike with stock, I was the same amount over on my Levo that I've tuned myself as I was on the stump jumper.
On the air side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, and Genie bands and damping tune, rebound, all that stuff was.
Did you change damping tune on the Levo? Like shim stack stuff?
Shim stack, I ended up back at stock.
Oh.
So it was just the Genie band stuff internally that I ended up making me in my happy spot. So,
Very
yeah,
cool.
Robert.
I have got 2 seat post related items on my list now. Number 1 is the new RockShox Reverb Axis dropper, especially in the 250mm length. 250mm wireless dropper is awesome. The performance of that thing is awesome. The active ride, which is inbuilt suspension if you've got the dropper dropped at all, is
So
really
awesome.
cool, especially on an e-bike when you're trying to get the power down with a slightly dropped saddle through a technical climb. Makes such a big difference. And like all of the scenarios that I could think of where I have the saddle slightly dropped, I always favor having that slight compliance to it. There's very, very rare times that I'll have the saddle dropped and want it fully locked out for maximum efficiency, because if I want maximum efficiency, I want the saddle all the way up. So that post is really, really good. I think market leader right now in my eyes. And then something to jazz it up and add further functionality would be the Anomaly Construct switch grid. I think that product is so good, especially again on an e-bike. It lets you tilt your saddle up and down from your neutral position. So you tilt the nose of the saddle down to get a better climbing position, especially for steeper climbs. And then you tilt it up and then drop the saddle so you get a nose up saddle position and a little bit more clearance and easier kind of sliding off the back of it. And I think that's a seriously good product as well. And if you combined the two, that would be a killer combo.
That's something that I've wanted to try, because I guess my anatomy requires a nose down saddle for climbing, and then like significantly nose down. And so having that switch grade would, in my case, someone that already uses a nose down for a climbing position, being able to get back to a level or even a vertical position like you have on downhill bikes would be really, really interesting. It's definitely one of those like wish list products I have. I'm like, I really want to try that. And the dropper post that maybe I'll ask that for Drew for Christmas, because that would be really sweet to have a normal size dropper post for my long legs.
There you go. All right. Well, what's up next for you?
I think I got one that I don't think none of you guys have used, but it is the Case Protection Body Armor.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a one-piece top and bottom, not like a onesie protection, but integrated hip, sacrum. Sacrum's the bone on the bottom of your back, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so sacrum and knee pad, more or less tights you pull on. Really, really interesting for bike park days where you're riding, standing up, sitting down a lot all day. You don't have to worry about adjusting those pads. They just stay in place. And then on the top side, you have a shoulder, very thick chest, and spine protector, as well as elbow pads. And as someone that hates having to adjust things, I never really wore elbow pads for that fact of just dealing with them. Having that integrated into your essentially shirt or like second skin was so nice. It was a little weird at first on the knee pads because there's no strap for like, oh, my knee pads are in the right place, because it's all connected. And they offer tons of different sizes to best suit your body type. And if someone with weirdly long legs and short torso can find something that works, I think anybody else can as well. And their pads, they are, is it level 3? Is that the downhill certification? Is that the highest pad certification?
There is level 3, but most you see in the bike industry are 1 or 2.
Okay, so whatever that standard that we see, they are rated the same, but their thickness in that pad is like twice as thick.
Interesting.
Like it's very, very thick and
Not too hot, though?
not too hot. Whatever material they've used as like the skin contacting portion breathes well. I mean, I used it. It was like 94 degrees when we were riding at Silver all day. And yeah, very impressed with that. Smaller company. I think it's a good place to invest for gear. And yeah, I think that's kind of standout for body armor, I would say, for the year is that stuff.
Drew, do you have any protection on your list, pad wise?
No, I don't.
While we're on that topic, then, should we mention the Darko Rion collab gravity knee pads?
What do you want to mention about them, Rob?
They're really good.
They are extremely comfortable. Put some massive days in wearing those things. I don't think I've crashed too many times or too hard on them. I've had a couple little wipeouts on them, but have you slammed in them hard, or either of you guys? On the
Not
real
that
stuff?
Fairly hard. Yeah.
Did.
They performed like you would hope. Like, especially they've got the side channel protection as well, just like little EVA foam around the side of the knee. And that saved me a few times, especially like smashing my knee off the stem. That happened a couple of times this year, and I think I was wearing those pads both of the times, and it just saved my knee. It's still like I felt it, but it didn't hurt, kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's the gravity ones, right?
It's a gravity knee, yeah.
We did not like the downhill ones very much.
At least I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't spend much time in them, but I can understand why. Just seems like the sleeve that they used on that gravity pad wasn't.
Yeah, above the knee sleeve was just a hair short. But yeah, I know those pads were probably one of my favorite kind of burlier, but not like full on like downhill like bike knee pad. I think the Fox, like the heavy duty Fox pads, took the cake for me on that one. But for like, when we went to Whistler and we were doing like, if I did my heli drop rides or the, those big mega e-bike days, for like in big travel enduro days, like those Darko Rion pads are pretty sick. Another interesting knee pad tech, I guess they came out this year, was the Koroyd stuff. Mm-hmm. And the reason that I guess I kind of kept knee pads off the list was, but whether it was Rion or Koroyd, I haven't had enough experience, and I'm skeptical about their defense against puncture and penetration wounds from like sticks or stumps, like sharp, skinny things. They're incredibly breathable, and if you hit a flat piece of ground, they do the job. I don't know, I guess as like someone growing up in Southern California where there's a lot of sharp, broken off shrubs and very sharp, pointy rocks, I just worry that stuff's going to go through those big open holes and leave me hurting.
Yeah.
I totally understand the concern. It is important to remember you do have a fairly tough material covering it that's going to help to spread that load a little bit, at least. I don't know if it would be enough to stop some of the sharpest stuff that you're going to fall onto from getting through, but it's going to do better than if it was just the pad material on its own, at least.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, right, like all we're trying to do with pad is risk mitigation, ultimately. Yeah. So, I think people can choose on where they prioritize protection over comfort and breathability. And that's all, at the end of the game, right? That's what protection's all about, is comfort or protection. So, So, speaking of downhill body armor and protection, I'm going to pick a downhill bike, the Canyon Sender. That probably stood out as one of my favorite machines to ride this year. I mean, downhill bikes are my tier one love in the mountain bike world, and that Canyon Sender, dude, it was such a fast, composed, quiet bike. Like the way that thing just thudded over the terrain. I liked having that KISS system. I would run it very low in terms of like control or feedback, so I had it pretty minimal.
It was also reduced from the one that was on the Spectral, so the downhill bike, I think it went down like 30 to 40%.
Yeah,
in total assistance.
Yeah, so I had it pretty minimal set up there, but my goodness, as someone who likes a pretty active, lively, and like low plowing bike, not one that gets unsettled or kicked up, I really liked the Sender.
With the balance of still being pretty playful. Like,
it
wasn't overly, like, it wasn't like a YT2 as enduro bike feel.
Yeah,
but
yeah. Like I could maneuver it. I could move it around. Like it got off the ground to like pre-hop or jump lips very fine. I didn't find that like if I wanted to try to like, like carve a lip or something, that it was like as playful in that sense. But again, I'm not a great at that. So like, as someone who prioritizes speed and like, I get stoked if like I'm taking speed off my lap times not like how clicked I can get a whip, because I can't. So, for me, the Sender is a sweet bike.
I think while you're on that, one of the topics that non-product related things that I had written down is like, my best experience of the year. We're lucky enough to go to a lot of really cool places, meet a lot of really cool people. Being essentially a factory rider for Canyon for 2 days at Windrock with full race support, coaching, like line spotting on that bike for the launch, like is a memory and feeling that I will carry forever. It is not very often, if ever, you get to be in a Troy Brosnan, Luca Shaw sandwich going down the hill in absolutely torrentially wet, scary conditions, riding well above your skill level in control. It was so crazy. And just, one of the things of watching those guys ride where they develop traction, trying their race wheel sets, like that was a big eye opener. I was like, whoa, going to a detuned wheel makes such a big difference. Going to a mechanic and saying, hey, this is what I'm feeling, or like my brakes feel kind of weird, and here's the bike back. Like, this is crazy. Yeah. So that was a really cool experience. And having also a photog there, like with Boris coming out with a photo book that I have of like that whole weekend was really cool. And it was on my birthday, so that also helped.
Speaking of birthdays, I spent mine in Whistler. Was a very, very fun time. I always knew that I would love the bike park. Obviously, it's Whistler Bike Park. What's not to love, really? But I never knew how good the riding would be just outside of it. I knew that Squamish and all of those zones would be awesome. Not that I've actually confirmed that yet personally, but I just like riding stuff on Creekside, just outside of the park boundaries. Man, some of the trails on that were just phenomenal. Some of the best riding I did all year. Yeah, and I got to share it with you guys, which I guess is all right.
It's rare. It's good.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So this year, before we went to Crankworks, I kind of sent everybody messages and was kind of getting like internally, staff messages. But then I was talking to a lot of people from brands. There's a lot of meetings and work that happens at Crankworks Whistler, and I don't know, I guess maybe I'm a little salty, but I was like, Whistler's beat. I'm over the bike park and like how like just abused it is, that there's no more dirt left, and a lot of the bike industry guys were like, yeah, we're just going to take e-bikes up this year actually. And it just kind of got me thinking like, well, let's bring up some DH bikes and some e-bikes, and I'll see if the guys want to go out and do the same. And we ended up riding in the park half as much as we ever do.
Oh,
normally
way less than half.
Probably less. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I would say like
2 days in 10.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. That's so crazy. So yeah, normally like we can't wait to go ride downhill bikes in the park. And this year we did so many e-bike days, and I wasn't bummed about it. Like the riding and the trails that we went to were insane. Yeah. And yeah, I loved it. It was sick.
I was telling a buddy like that hasn't been in a long time. It's like it's fun. Like let's go ride. Like do Dirt Merchant, do D1. Like get those sweet big jump trails you don't get at home. But like if you want to go ride trails, like let's like bring e-bikes and like do a day in the park and 4 outside the park.
There's just so much good stuff out there. But yeah,
staying on the topic of good laps with you, Cole. What do you reckon to Thunder Mountain?
Dude, hidden gem. Very hidden gem.
Good.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
So fun.
So bummed I couldn't go on that one.
Yeah, you'll have to get there.
Absolutely. Eating poo-poo was not fun, but very fun. Very intense. I was actually just talking to Ty day before yesterday about Hollywood and like being third in line in the train and watching, I can't remember the dude's name that we were riding with, that worked in the shop there.
Maton?
Like, yeah, Matan. I'm third, so I have enough time to decide what I'm gonna do. Seeing him touching trees and then Rob like looking down, Rob's still going up lip. He's still going higher. And me going, nah, I'm good. I'm pulling off. I do not need to hit that jump. Like they have some seriously big jumps paired with like proper tech. Like,
Wow.
that I struggled with hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Man, the East Coast is, I mean, I don't even know if that's technically East Coast yet, but the Northeast, I guess we could call it, seems like such a rad spot. And, I'd like to get out there more, but so that trip was part of our bike park review tour we did this year. And maybe we talk about another bike that's on my list, which you guys spent some time on at that tour, the Pivot Firebird. That bike for me, I went to the media camp in maybe February of this year, which was in Finale, Italy. And that machine really stood out as a incredibly capable and versatile enduro long-legged travel bike that I really like that new bike.
Well, Rob didn't ride it on that trip because I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm staying on it.
Yeah.
He had the Phoenix, so he wasn't super bummed.
I'm going to take all the downhill laps I can get.
Yeah. No, and I took that bike home after I got the bike before our East Coast trip, rode a bunch of trails, did an alpine ride on it, spent 2 weeks riding bike parks, brought it home, rode the home trails. It was very close to being my top pick for the year over the Top Fuel, but I think it's a big travel bike. It does what big travel bikes should do. And it wasn't impressive outside of what I think it should do to like gain my number one. It'd be my number one long travel bike.
Yeah.
But it's really good. It pedals great. It's light.
It is a very
touching on the trends chat that we've had previously in the other episode. Is that not another bike that went down in the pedaling support world?
Yeah, I mean, I think with that and Shock Tune, I know that was like something that, you know, I actually made a video episode with Alex from Fox, who was at that media camp, and he's basically kind of like the liaison. You know, he works for Fox, but he helps work directly with brands to develop shock tunes for their new bikes. And I know he played a big part in, you know, saying like, hey, let's focus less on pedal performance a little bit, and let's focus a little more on downhill performance. This is the Firebird, right? So it was neat to see. Yes, like in our last episode where we talked a lot about brands reducing anti-squat, brands focusing more on downhill performance rather than pedaling. It was neat to see how that bike performed. I also really liked that now we finally could get longer rear ends on the pivots. That's something that has plenty of great attributes that make the bikes fun, capable, great in certain scenarios, but was something that a lot of people did complain about and say like, I can't ride a pivot, you know, because of that. So it was really neat to see that the Firebird now has that adjustability, making that rear end a lot longer, notably longer, I should say. And I liked it in that longer position for most of my style of riding. And
finishing off my list, I think the biggest thing would be the GE 900 HS shoe from Shimano. I got that shoe when I went to the DI2 media camp in April, I think it was, and pretty much lived in that shoe all summer. And it's not broken down at all, which is, well, one, it's not broken, and it hasn't broken down as far as stiffness. I, for some reason, am terribly good at breaking cleat beds.
Yeah, you have snapped a lot of shoes.
I think outside of wearing those, I did 4 this year. So
yeah,
that's a weird one. Another rapid fire Fidlock water bottles. If you haven't had a Fidlock water bottle, buy a Fidlock water bottle. They're sick. And the DJI Action 5 Pro for POV. It's something, you know, we rely on a lot for our jobs, and that is a camera that I can actually rely on. Battery life. I always bring an extra battery with me. I've never actually used a second battery.
Me neither. I like that camera a lot, and their microphones. their little
Yes,
mics.
these little guys,
so
yeah.
good.
So that's that. I think that kind of wraps up kind of everything for me. Drew?
Okay. Yeah, smaller stuff here too. The Race Face era handlebar and the Chester grips. I'm still really digging. Schwalbe's Shredda radial tires. Now that we're in winter, I am a big fan when you can get those things in some good dirt or even some good sand, which we've got a lot of here in the winter months.
What's the one, the sandy single track that you have here?
Out at Horse Ridge?
At Horse Ridge, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's like that one, there's one left.
Sand Canyon?
Yeah, the one left I'm thinking of is just like this deep sand. I can only imagine.
Kremlin.
Yeah, I can only
Yeah.
imagine shredders on that trail.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah,
they're fantastic if you don't have to pedal them up under your own power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are seriously unbelievable tires.
Yeah. And then, the last bike-related product is the new Giro goggles with Vivid Lens Tech. Really, really like those Giro goggles, like the silicone, like kind of sweat strap on there, the Vivid lens. They're pretty breathable. I really dig them. And then, Rob, I think I might have repossessed these from you. You might have gone home and the stuff arrived, but Relight or like Real Salt, they're a company out of Utah, and they kind of have two business
Redmond.
divisions. Yeah, Redmond, Relight. They sponsor, I think, Cody Kelly and some others, but they do a lot of like hydration supplements. They own a salt mine in Utah, but along with doing like hydration tablets and stuff, which we have reviewed and like are really, really good, they have a whole line of cooking seasoning.
Yes.
And they've got I think it's like a Wasatch. I'm not from Utah. I can't pronounce that mountain range right now. But they've got a steak seasoning, and then they have a barbecue seasoning. They got taco seasoning. We're not paid. I'm not getting any commission or affiliate links here. But, dude, their barbecue seasoning and the steak seasoning are incredibly good. I will say I do like salty foods, so it might be a little salty for some. But, yeah, their barbecue and steak seasoning, check it out. Redmond Salt Company or Redmond Relight. Look for it. We'll put a link below. But I've been so stoked on that stuff, dude. And I'm thinking about it because I just seasoned a really nice brisket that we're gonna eat tonight. So
Stop it.
Sorry, Robert.
You've kept me up way past my dinner time. You can't be doing that to me.
I know. Sorry. But
Cole,
yeah.
you talking about shoes reminded me of something I've been very thankful of as the weather has gone so bad here in Scotland, which is Fox Union all-weather shoe, the waterproof shoes from them, and their flat pedal version in particular, because I haven't tried the clips actually, but I think they use a softer rubber. They don't advertise it as being a softer rubber, but I'm pretty sure it's a softer rubber, and they have slightly better grip. They're slightly more comfortable and just stuck on, which has been really cool. So that's taken the Union from it's a good shoe, but I don't love it, to keeping my feet dry and gripping on the pedal better. So I've been really stoked on those.
Yeah, that's awesome. I got the Gore-Tex or the GTX. I think it's the Gore-Tex version of that Shimano shoe that I asked for like a long time ago. And like, oh yeah, we sent it. They sent it here. So I was cleaning up the space for doing video today. I was like, there's the shoes I've been waiting for. So I'm stoked to try that side of it out too.
Right on. Yeah, I've got a set of those Union all-weather shoes in the clipless version coming, Rob. So I'm excited to try them.
Cool. Hopefully they're just as good.
I hope, because I love the clipless shoes. The flats or whatever, they're fine, but I really, really like the clipless shoes. So hopefully they'll keep my little toesies warm and dry this winter. So,
Cool.
All right, well, that's it, folks. Thanks for joining us for another episode. Stay tuned for more. And, of course, we are going to be working on trying to incorporate some of our members from our members platform into future episodes. So go check out that members community if you'd like to be a guest host on this and help ask us some questions. And leave any comments with topics that you would like us to discuss. Thanks for watching and tuning in to listen. We'll see you in the next one.